afternoon. I'm Jason Bierce with the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, and thank you all. We have technically 6 counties represented here today. Will be recipients of our College Success Coalition Awards. The first gratifying day of these coalitions is we bring everyone together, and we see all the interested parties from across different sectors of the communities coming together because they care about making their communities stronger through higher education. But in many ways, this is the more gratifying day because this is the that we can recognize all of your efforts, because as much as it's hard to get the ball rolling, it's even harder to keep that ball rolling and to really stay with it, stay the course, to become a active, thriving, sustainable coalition. And today, we just want to spend a few minutes to offer you a small token of our gratitude, a visible reminder, not only to you, but to the members of your community, that you're a community that cares about your students, both younger students and returning adults, that you're a community that understands the connection between a strong education system and economic development, and a community that's really committed to not just talking about the challenges that we all face in Indiana and our local cities and towns, but is willing to come together to do something about it. I'm fortunate because I get to work on this initiative and I get to see how all the pieces are generally there in a community, but by coming alongside you, we're able to help you put those pieces together, help connect what we're doing at the state level with what we would hope to happen at the regional and local level. But we have no illusions about the fact that the work that we're doing at the state level is fairly meaningless if we're not able to successfully come alongside local partners. I'm going to invite our distinguished speaker for today in a moment, but I just wanted to thank a couple people. First off, Sue Reynolds, as you all know, is the Executive Director of the American Student Achievement Institute and also the resident mother hen of the College Success Coalitions. I asked her right before this, as I always do, like, is there anything particularly notable that I should mention about this particular cohort of counties? And she's like, well, these are really good. But, much like parents and their children, she says a version of that every year, but I think she really, really means it this time. This is the best one, right? Until she goes to another county, and maybe we'll say something similar to that. But, we really just want to thank you. That's why we're here today. Hopefully bring some positive attention to the work that you're doing every day, and hopefully other counties, other parts of the state that we haven't gotten to yet will take notice and understand, make that connection about how they too would benefit from coming together and forming a strong coalition, a network of individuals and organizations that really wants to do something about making their community stronger. But with that, I'd like to introduce our Commissioner for Higher Education, who is not only our Commissioner for Higher Education, but is also the champion, the statewide champion of the College Success Coalitions. I know that we're slowly but surely making our way around the state. I know she was in Cass County recently. We were in Steuben County. If she hasn't been to your county, she will be there soon because we keep scheduling her to do so. But we're really glad to give you an opportunity to hear from her and turn things over to you to thank you for all you're doing. Teresa.
Thank you, Jason. Don't you love to be in this building? I had the privilege of serving in the State Senate for 17 years and coming to this building on a daily basis. And I would always try to remind myself what this building looked like through the eyes of the 4th graders who would often come because that's when you do Indiana history. And sometimes you get jaundiced to what happens here and to the hard work that we do. So we need to be reminded about how important what happens here is. But today we're going to talk about what is important that you do, not in this building. I think Jason really set the right tone because this is really an opportunity for us to say thank you and acknowledge your efforts and hope that by our acknowledging it, you will have special attention that's given to you back in your counties as well when you go back home. Certainly the signage we think is an important thing, but it's just symbolic of the really hard work that you're doing every day. So, why is this so important? And because I have in front of me now a group of people who really care about this work, I hope you'll indulge me just a moment to share a few thoughts that I have at this point about why the work you're doing is so important and why we want to partner with you. Education and training beyond high school, we all know, is more important than ever. For those of us, and I usually look at the audience and see there are only usually a few people who are as old as I am in an audience anymore, but for those of us who grew up in the 50s and the 60s, who had parents who worked in in manufacturing, not advanced manufacturing, had the opportunity to have the middle class, often had parents who had an 8th grade education, or certainly a high school diploma was sufficient to go into the world of work and enter the middle class and have opportunities for economic advancement in your life. Those opportunities are shrinking on a yearly basis as some sort of education and training beyond high school is more important than ever. Now, if I had a chance to visit your county, you know I've said this before, but for those of you who I haven't, you know, we see this word, the College Success County, or College Success Coalitions, and one of the first things we try to do is to make sure that we understand that college looks differently than just a 4-year degree, as important as a 4-year degree is. You know, let it not be lost on the fact that we rank about 40th or 41st in the nation of people who have a bachelor's degree or beyond. So we're not ready to let up on that pedal at all. But having said that, we know that there are great opportunities for people who have workforce credentials, who have 1-year certificates, associate degrees, and beyond, especially as they are aligned to priority sectors in our economy. So some of you in the counties have even changed the name. Sometimes you're calling it college and workforce groups. Whatever you call it, it sends the message that some sort of training and education beyond high school is more important than ever. In fact, it's what really caused us to establish our goal, our state goal of 60% of Hoosiers having one of those quality credentials beyond high school. And it's not that we have that 60% goal because we thought it was a nice round number, a little more than half, and seemed like a good number to pick. We have it because clearly 2/3 of the jobs will require some sort of education and training beyond high school. And we need to make it very clear to our students as they're growing up, to our families, that that's the case. But as Jason alluded to the fact, we also have to make it clear that there are opportunities for people, for adults who are already in the workforce, of which we have about 750,000 Hoosiers who have some college but no degree. And so you're going to hear us talk a lot in the next year, and I hope you'll help us do that, about our Return and Complete initiative, to try to find a way to reach out to those people who have always wanted to have some sort of a credential beyond high school, obviously had the aspiration, they started, but at some point life got in the way and they didn't quite make it. You are most likely to see those people in your local communities. As Jason mentioned, we have a strategic plan at the Commission. We work with the legislators here and with the executive branch of government, with the governor and his team, to make sure that we understand what that goal is. But we also recognize that it's really at churches and around the dinner table and at K-12 schools and at our local Ivy Tech campuses and at the myriad of colleges and universities we have around the state that the message is really being implemented and being heard by people. So we want to really make sure that we can partner with you in doing that. Let me talk a little bit about the ways that I think we can partner and help you in the efforts that you have underway. And one of the first things that you have to do as a state and as a county, and Sue has been so valuable in doing this, is to have an honest assessment of where you are. You know, what are the numbers right now? What are your completion numbers? What are your high school graduation rates? What are your college going rates? What's your attainment rate? By that, someone who has some sort of credential beyond high school. And have the courage to look at that and say, you know, we have some really significant gaps here. If we're going to meet the needs, and if our county is going to be the kind of place where people are going to choose to stay or come back after they go to school, we need to make sure that we have a vibrant county that provides the job opportunities for that. And then we need to make sure we're aligning those with the workforce needs as well. So I think that honest assessment is very important, and we try to help doing that because we're working very carefully with our K-12 partners, with our partners at the Department of Workforce Development, and with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation to understand how all that data aligns throughout the system. And then we provide what I think are some really great reports that you can use as well. And so feel free to go to CHE's website and look at those reports. We have our college readiness reports, which will show you in your county by school district where your students are going to college after they leave, how many of them are prepared or how many of them need remediation when they get there, what their grade point average is, what they're studying. This is really important information that's being used by your principals and your superintendents and your teachers. So that's great information. And then the companion piece to that is our college completion reports. We talk a lot, and you do as well, about access and success, and that's what these coalitions are really about. And we're very focused on the second part of that, which is the success, that when students begin, they not only access some sort of education beyond high school, but that they complete as well. We all know that the issues related to affordability are critically important to families, that accessing higher education is more expensive than ever, and so we need to make sure that students are financially prepared to get to college, and you can help us with that as well. There are lots of things we could talk about in that regard, but pay special attention in your counties to the 21st Century Scholars Program and the work that we're doing with first-generation students to make sure that they have the opportunity and the financial resources to start to college. So those college completion reports paint a complete picture of how we're doing in college. And then we have what we call return on investment reports, which actually will show you by campus what it costs to go to college, what the debt will be, average debt would be, what the areas of study would be, and then what an individual could expect to make 1, 5, or 10 years out. We think all of this information is important, especially because you can align those return on investment reports with the employment needs of your counties and your regions to make sure that you're really addressing the needs. So I think those reports are very important as well. And then, we're committed to our outreach efforts. We have regional coordinators who are working with you as you put in place your strategies. We know you're here today because you've already done the 4 things that you were required to do, including a strategic plan, including bringing all those people together who can help you meet those goals. It's not easy work. I mean, it is really heavy work, and we're especially grateful because we know that you have other day jobs, most of you, and you're doing this as volunteers often. And so for that reason, we are especially grateful for your effort. We know that putting that in place, those groups, is hard. Sustaining it is harder. And actually getting to those metrics that you have set in place, those goals that you have identified, which are aligned to our 60% goal, that's the really tough part. That's the heavy lift to get there. So, we hope you're encouraged by the fact that we think you're doing a great job. And we think that the work that you're doing is going to be the game changer for the state, that it will bring the life to the strategic plan that we have. So I often say to our staff, because, we're engaged in this work, and sometimes we feel like we're just taking inches. You're just inching, you're just moving little by little. And I often say, don't get weary in well-doing, because the work that you're doing is so important. And you've got to keep at it, even if it seems like the goals that we have set sometimes may seem to be audacious. They're the right goals. I use one goal in particular that I will mention today, and that is the goal we've established to address Indiana's achievement gap, of which, like the rest of the nation, we have a significant achievement gap, especially if you identify it with families who come from poverty and students who come from poverty. And we established a goal of closing the achievement gap by 2025 and cutting it in half by 2018. The response that we had from some was, that's an unreachable goal. And our response was, how can you set a goal of anything other than closing the achievement gap and have the right goal in mind? I think the same could be said for the goals that you've established. So they're the right goals, and we're going to work hard to help you meet them as well. So I think that, we have 75 counties that are up and operational, some who have actually been acknowledged in the ways that you're going to be acknowledged today for the really stellar work that you're doing. But we hope it sends a signal to every corner of the state that we really need you to get on board. We need to talk to each other. We need to figure out what's working, and we need to move Indiana forward so that our attainment level will, in fact, be not among the bottom 10, but the top 10. I think that's possible, but it's going to take a lot of work. So with that, I just want to say thank you. It's my privilege on behalf of Hoosiers everywhere, and certainly the Commission, to say thanks for the work that you're doing.